Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is Daleks Among Us. Yes, apologies for my really cringy Dalek voice. But yes, it's another Dalek story, and this time we take an adventure into a police state where just saying the word Dalek can get you arrested and re-educated. So without further ado, let's jump right into the story. The Doctor and his two friends, Dr. Elizabeth Klein and Will Arrowsmith, have taken an adventure back in time on another planet in another century, and they are looking for something. Looking for parts to a mystery that the Doctor has got them wrapped up in. It turns out that the Doctor has been trapped in some sort of conspiracy in which the Nazis have been working alongside the Daleks. They believe that they have an allied partnership, and it all revolves around Dr. Elizabeth Klein. Whilst on the beach, the Doctor and Will go in one direction, whilst Elizabeth goes in another. Upon returning to look for Dr. Elizabeth, they find that a trail has emerged upon what seems to be a beach in some sort of desert. After following the trail that Will found, they find that a Dalek has hunted down Dr. Elizabeth and is ready to exterminate all of them. Dr. Elizabeth, using her strategy of misdirection, decides to try and convince the Dalek to shoot the Doctor and leave her and Will alone. This, of course, almost gets Dr. Elizabeth killed herself, but it's a risk she is willing to take. Will is absolutely confused and baffled by this, but he plays along for as long as he can. And then, Dr. Elizabeth, whilst in the shack full of alcohol, sets the Dalek on fire, and the three of them leave the hut in search of more answers to what's really going on. They come across an abandoned city, and upon entering the city, the Doctor notices a giant statue of Ace from the last time he visited this planet, and the Doctor, out of frustration, shouts out, "Has everybody on the planet forgotten about the Daleks?" This soon gets the CCTV's attention, as the Daleks and whoever's in charge are watching them. After getting their attention, the Doctor and his friends are arrested, and the Doctor is tortured for information. After escape, of course, the Doctor and his friends decide to try going back in time and reversing the effects of everything that's happened. How can they live on a world in which the Daleks themselves become irreversible and part of some mass misinformation about their society's history? Whilst the Doctor goes back in time searching for answers and trying to figure out what's up with the Nazis' involvement with the Daleks, Will finds himself looking into the eyes of Davros without realizing he is Davros. Will gets easily distracted by a young woman named Quarren, who he kind of falls head over heels for. After following her and running in and out of the city that seems to be controlled by the Daleks, the propaganda against the Daleks, Will finds himself in the company of Davros, who claims to be going by the name in this story of Father. He's tricked people out of the city to believe that he is some sort of priest. Will eventually goes back to the Doctor and Dr. Klein, and Dr. Klein goes back in time and gets stuck within her own timeline, kind of unraveling the whole history of time and her own point of origin, and to do with the Nazis. Meanwhile, the Doctor goes in search of answers, and when he does and comes across Davros, he begins to ask Davros what he's truly up to and what's wrong with the society they are living in. Davros himself seems to be very clueless and very frustrated. He begins to ask questions about his Daleks. Where are my Daleks, what are they doing? The Doctor doesn't quite believe that Davros is clueless, but suddenly he realizes Davros is telling the truth. So if Davros hasn't done this to history, who has? And it turns out it's all the effect of the Black Dalek. Some kind of time distortion that's kind of changed the way of history. It turns out that the Black Dalek has cloned a lot of Nazis and a lot of people in the city, and has been using them in order to keep order and control over the society. As the title suggests, Daleks are among them, but no one in the city knows this, and they just believe that they live in a dictatorship controlled by the state. Elizabeth is cloned in this story, and of course, this means that her previous self is locked in a jail cell sometime back in the past. Will is left helpless as he tries to infiltrate the city and take over the operation alongside Davros. Upon doing this, the Doctor is now trying to break the programming of the clone of Elizabeth. By mentally being able to get into her head eventually, the Doctor realizes that he manages to use their own powers against them. Apparently, the Daleks are trying to use a weapon so strong, so powerful, that rather than having to annihilate civilization after civilization, the Nazi clones want to help the Daleks achieve total conquest by merely turning off the hearts of every creature in civilization. But the Doctor tricks the clone into using this against their fellow clones in order to shut the clones down once and for all. But he doesn't stop there. The clone also uses it on the Daleks, turning all the Daleks in the city off, leaving them dead. After escaping the tragedy and the death and the destruction left behind in the wake of the Daleks, Davros is left on a collision course for a planet, which kind of reminds me of the Ghost Monument sort of planet. On this planet, Davros comes across wraiths who pretty much keep telling him all of his misfortunes, all of the bad things he has done, and this begins to drive Davros crazy. At the end of this story, we never quite find out if Davros ever escapes the planet, but by knowing the future of Davros, it's more than likely. Now back to the Doctor and Will. They know, of course, that the clone was a clone, nothing more, nothing less. But this leaves the Doctor and Will with one question: where is the real Dr. Elizabeth Klein? So they go in the TARDIS and they find that she has been put in some Soviet camp, locked up. When the Doctor and Will turn up in order to save Dr. Klein, they find out that their TARDIS has been buried under a bunch of military tanks, leaving them in a very stranded situation. Klein jokes that this is a very, very bad rescue mission. She also takes the mick out of the Doctor and Will for pretty much a Star Wars reference, pointing out that they both look ridiculous and are quite short for stormtroopers or guards, as she puts it. Doctor's final words in this audio is, "This wasn't a rescue mission, this was an adventure." So, Daleks Among Us. What did I think of the story? Well, I can't lie. This is honestly one of the only Dalek stories I've listened to by Big Finish Productions, where I kind of had to listen all the way through and try and keep on top of what's happening. I like Dr. Klein's moments, don't get me wrong. I like Will's moments. I also gotta say, I've not really listened to any stories with Will in before, and I love how much of a coward he is. I just love at the first sign of danger, rather than doing what most companions do in Doctor Who, where they walk off or wander off, his first instinct is, "Doctor, where's the TARDIS key? I'm out of here." Davros was very strong in this episode, although I kind of wish he'd done more. I feel like he was a bit overshadowed by the Nazis, and that really, really started bugging me a bit, because, yes, as the Doctor points out in this, the Nazis are similar to the Daleks, although the difference is the Nazis want a perfect, pure Aryan race, whereas the Daleks pretty much just want to destroy everything that's not in their image. Oh, I thought it was quite a shame that we don't get more moments of just Davros yelling at the Nazi officer, even though we know he's a clone, but I just feel like that would have been a bit stronger in this episode. Um, I like how Will is kind of persuaded by a woman he's just met. He's kind of fallen head over heels for her. Um, I also like that the Doctor keeps us guessing in this episode. We're constantly trying to keep up with what the Doctor does and doesn't know, and that to me was kind of brilliant. But as I said before, yes, it's got the Black Dalek in. Yes, it's got a bunch of clones, but I really was struggling with this audio to try and keep up. And for that reason, I give Daleks Among Us the lowest score I'm ever going to give a Dalek story by Big Finish. And that is. It's got to be. It's a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, stay beautiful, stay amazing, you gorgeous Whovians, and goodbye.